Just a few housekeeping things. The session is being recorded and will be shared with you afterwards. In terms of questions, if you could pop those into the chat, Katie will be compiling those and sending them over to me, and I'll answer them as I can. If it doesn't slot into the main session, I'll add them to the end, or if there's anything in which I need to get more information about, we'll come back to you about it afterwards. The session is going to go on for about 45 minutes. Obviously, it will depend on questions. Very brief introduction. ASP. I believe most of you guys know it. Been around a long time. Relatively recently, we've now started expanding our SEO offering and helping clients. I've been in SEO since 2012. I've worked on a wide range of industries, more recently with events. I have to say I've really got hooked and love now working with events, and it's become a real specialism. And I love the show cycle and how you work. So it's been quite a natural combination working with ASP, and I've kind of hooked in events. I love it. So in this session today, we're talking about the real foundation of SEO, of organic traffic, is finding those keywords, those searches in which people are actually using to find not just your event, but topics in which would help to then drive people to your event. So I'm going to go through many areas of this to help you find out all of these golden nuggets. I'm going to chat through, initially laid some groundwork with this, with definition, and also discuss very briefly items relating to search at the moment in 2024. So you can understand the importance of it with organic traffic, and also it does also relate to other marketing as well, especially PPC. There is now a relevance with organic search demand too. And then I'm actually going to go through some nuts and bolts on how to find your keywords, give you actually go onto some of the tools you use, and you can actually see some examples of how we actually go about doing it, and hopefully demystify the whole process, because many people think SEO is a black art. It absolutely is not. It's a quite methodical process, to be honest, that you need to go through to find the bits you need to find in terms of keywords, and then how to implement them on the page. So let's just start off with understanding search demand. So fundamentally, what we're trying to establish here is how many people are searching for an event like yours. So we've got the more specific, which could be actually for your event because they know about you. There could be the slightly less specific in terms of they want an event like yours and don't specifically necessarily know your event, but they know that events like that are around. And then you've got a third set of people who might be looking for topics or subjects or companies who will be featured at your event. So they may not even be specifically looking for an event, but for example, if they see, I don't know, AI companies, for example, they're interested in that sphere, and then they see your event comes up and see that lots are exhibiting at their event, it's going to drive relevant people to that. So there's many ways in which you can understand and use keywords and search demand to drive people to your site. So what we're aligning is these words and phrases in which people type into Google, and then we're aligning them specifically to your website. It also gives it's a great indicator as to it can also drive certain topics for your event too, how you subdivide topics within your actual show. And I'll come on to this, how some of the keyword research that I've done and worked with clients has actually impacted how they lay the show out, the streams in which maybe sessions and conferences, that the conference sessions are organized. So because fundamentally what we're reflecting here is what people are searching for and the topics people are interested in. So if someone is searching for something in a certain way online, then when they come to your show, it makes sense to actually call things the same thing there as well. So why does search demand matter in 2024? So there's a number of areas on this. So fundamentally, it's to align your website content with what people are searching for online, so to help you get more organic visitors. Many reasons why maybe you'd want to do that. Maybe to supplement email marketing. Maybe you're spending a fair amount on PPC or paid ads, and by moving over to organic, you can start to wean and reduce that bill a bit and wean yourself off of that. But those items have pretty much always been relevant, but where 2024 there's been things are really starting to change now is what's happening with privacy laws, especially in light of Google consent mode and the new cookie policies that came in March, in that as we're moving forward, there's basically less data that advertising platforms like Google Ads and Facebook can collect from all of us when we're on the internet. So there's less data that's available for those marketing platforms, and this really makes search a lot more important, because if Google can't find out about the demographic or the income or various other elements about someone over there, they have to, if you want to drive people to your website, you need to make up that information somewhere else. And one thing that Google always knows about is search and what people are actually searching for online. So therefore, if your website is really well optimized, has a really large library of highly relevant information and content on there, and which is driving people to the website, compared with, say, quite a slim website with not much on there, it means that Google has a really good understanding of the types of keywords that people are typing in, and that are relevant to your site. And that's not just a matter of just blasting out and getting lots of keywords and just getting random people and on random keywords to your website, because Google then knows that they're not relevant, because they'll come onto the site and it will know that they bounced off the site nice and quickly. So therefore, your site, that's not a good indicator. Whereas what you want to be doing is aligning your site with a whole raft of topics that are highly relevant to your industry. And the way to do that is you start off with finding the keywords. So that's what we're going into today. Right, okay, so enough background. How do we actually start to find the keywords that people are typing in? So I'm going to go through this step by step, starting off with a bit of brainstorming and research, some of the tools that we use, specifically some AI tools that could be really helpful, looking at competitors, how we can research and see what other people are doing, then some very specific keyword tools, which you can then go off and find, get suggestions of keywords, as well as the number of monthly searches, whether that be in the UK, whether that be in the US, abroad, globally, etc. I'm then going to go into one of the best tools out there, which is Google itself, in which you can go in there and get some suggestions as to different keywords that Google thinks are also relevant and maybe aligned to searches that people put in. And then combining it all together, getting big long lists of keywords, and then how we can then start to refine that down to what actually goes on to individual pages. So let's start to go through this step by step. Brainstorming and research. So this is an absolutely critical stage. So this is step one, your website. What words are people going to use to come to the site? So first of all, you should know your show. You should know the type of show it is, and the various things that your exhibitors, that your attendees potentially look for when they come to your website. So start to think and write down and maybe put into a spreadsheet, really start to brainstorm all of the different search terms that people will use. I would start off with your show topics, the main headline topic and maybe any subtopics. Start to involve team members in this, get ideas of other people, maybe even sales team who might be speaking to customers and speaking to attendees and questions that they may have, who may have, sort of other insight into the sort of things that people are interested in, and talk about your attendees when they come to the show. Maybe look at any feedback, etc., that you may have had last year, again, to get some nuggets as to topics people are interested in, because all of these are keywords that can be then added to the page and start to optimize that page to help then drive new people. So brainstorming, it's certainly worth spending a bit of time on this, because no one should know your show better than you, and this is really kind of where everything else starts from. So get the old spreadsheet going. Brainstorming has suddenly become much easier. So with ChatGPT, with AI, you can get some fabulous ideas as to the different topics. So and it certainly makes one thing we do sometimes find at stage one with brainstorming is that if people are within an industry, you maybe know that the words and phrases that people use within the industry itself, but not necessarily maybe what some of your customers might be typing in, and more kind of generic queries that people might type in. So this is where ChatGPT comes in, and this is where I'm going to start to share my screen and give some examples on this. So what we're looking to do is, let's say I'm going to go with AI as a topic, as just to base some examples on, and let's say we have an AI event, and we started to do some research on how we can find some different keywords on this. So if we go into ChatGPT, so we did a previous webinar actually last time on AI. And just very quickly, I'm not sure how well people are versed with using ChatGPT, but as a general principle, you need to be quite precise at what needs to go in. And I like to talk to ChatGPT almost like it's a person, in which just to try and give nice, clear instructions rather than putting in standard prompts. So, and also it helps you to understand what you're doing a little bit better, because you're asking it questions, and then when you get a response you don't like it, and then helps you refine what you're doing and maybe ask a question again. So at this stage, I'm saying that I have an AI event, and I am researching for subtopics that people may be interested in at who are attending an event like this. Just something really basic like that. So immediately we can start to get some really excellent suggestions as to topics that you could cover. Some of these may be relevant, some of them may not, but it certainly is a fantastic place to start. And this should be added then to your brainstorming. It's worth doing the brainstorming first, because then that will help you write the right sort of instruction here in ChatGPT. So try not to miss that step and launch straight into ChatGPT. Start thinking of some words first, because also there may be things in here which aren't quite right, and it just helps you to easily refine this list much better. But ChatGPT, in terms of finding your subtopics, is really fantastic. I'd encourage you to use it as much as you can. Okay, so step one was to do some brainstorming and some research, and we now, for our fictitious event, have a number of potential subtopics that we could be targeting. And another way is to start to look at your competitors, because they can give some great insight actually into what sort of keywords that you could target. Maybe they're doing particularly well in some areas. Not always the case. I do find, if I'm honest, in the events industry that not that many events are really well optimized in terms of SEO. So you can get some ideas, but at least it can be a steer. And as much as anything, if you find through your competitor research that your competitors really aren't doing very well, that's a great thing to learn, because it means that you know that you just have to put a little bit of effort in and you'll be able to do better than them online. So there's many ways in which you can do competitor research. Obviously, you can go to their website and start flicking through it, looking at what pages are called, look at what menu items they may have, to start to get a sense as to the types of keywords that they may be targeting. And what I'm going to suggest here is you can use Google Keyword Planner, and that's a fantastic way to. Keyword Planner is on Google Ads, so you will need a Google Ads account, even if it is dormant, to be able to do that. We're going to go slightly off the AI theme, I'm afraid, to just give an example of how this works. So we put a website in here to start to get ideas as to keywords that we could use, and these are keywords that that this website is targeting, and it's a fantastic place to start. It's got a nice big long list of book publishers, self-publishing. A little bit generic, some of these keywords, if I'm honest. When I'm looking for keywords for an event, I like to have event or conference or seminar, something a bit more specific. But at least it gives you a very good idea by going through this of some of the key headline topics also that they're targeting. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of information they're giving here, many keywords. So depending on who your competitors are, this could be a goldmine in terms of finding relevant keywords for your business. Just remember that when you're thinking of competitors, that's not necessarily just competitors offline. It can be your online competitors. I was speaking to a client this morning who, when I asked them for their competitors, they were a list of 10 companies who actually don't appear against them online. Their online competitors are completely different to who they considered to be their competitors. So obviously one of the ways in which you could find that out is just book fairs, let's say. Go online, do a search and see who are the top competitors for your primary event type, and then that will show you who your competitors are. So yeah, researching competitors, would highly recommend that because fundamentally, if they're doing well online, you want to know what they're targeting so you can do it a bit better. So starting to find the keywords in which they're targeting is a key first step to that. So highly recommend signing up to Google Ads or getting access to Google Ads, go into the keyword planner and use that to find some keywords. There's lots of other tools too to help get keyword suggestions. So I'm going to just share one here. The one that we use is called Keyword Keg. It's much easier to use than the Google tool. It's also you get lots of great suggestions. So let's just make that slightly bigger. So just to give you an idea how this can suggest keywords. So there's a number of, you select your market. So slightly limited in terms of the market we have here, but let's go for the United States for the time being. Apologies, I got slightly distracted there because my Google Assistant, when I said that, started shouting at me, so I'm just going to unplug that. So what this is doing is going off and finding other potentially relevant keywords that relate to AI event, and we're looking for United States. You can see actually it's slightly misunderstood that AI in events. So maybe add in artificial intelligence. Be a little bit more specific. So this is going off. It goes into Google, it goes into YouTube. Amazon finds various sources to find ideas for keywords. So it's a great place just to generate ideas as to get more keywords that are relating to your events. And it's a fantastic place to start. Hasn't generated the best list, if I'm honest, but let's just do event. So just to tell you what it's showing here. So for AI event, We've got 720 searches a month. That's what people are paying on pay-per-click ads at the moment, £1.48. This column here is competition, so it's a notional kind of competition, and this graph here is a trend. So it depends. At the moment, it's so that was July 23. There were 590 searches, but as you can see, its popularity seems to be increasing. So it's quite useful, just a little target of what the trend is relating to a particular keyword. So Keyword Keg's an excellent tool to use. So this is just a brief intro to that. So I'd highly recommend getting that to start to get more keyword ideas to add to the competitor research you've done, as well as your brainstorming. Google Keyword Planner, you can also get ideas from that. I also mentioned a tool called keywordtools.io. If you have an event which isn't, as I mentioned on Keyword Keg, it's slightly limited as to the countries, and if you've got other countries like the rest of the world, you can use Keyword Tool, and that does other countries around the world. So it's a little bit more expensive, not quite as easy to use as Keyword Keg, but it's a great tool. For example, we did some keyword research for a client in Egypt and Africa, and you can only do that with a tool like keywordtool.io. Google Suggest. So again, Google is a fantastic tool for actually finding out more information. So AI events, what else could we potentially target? If you click on here, we can see our other suggestions down here. So these are all other potential keywords that could be relevant to target on your website. So obviously AI events, they're all over the place. So it seems it's highly relevant here to put in the location. So let's put that in, which might seem fairly obvious, but you'd be amazed how many times people don't do that and therefore missing a trick. Especially in this case, I know from experience here that AI events is quite competitive. So in that being the case, it's better to start niching down and being a bit more specific, especially as at the end of the day, only a certain section of people are going to travel abroad, so the location is exceptionally important. Also, you can look in Google at the bottom. We can see here people also searched for, and this gives other suggestions too down here as to other keywords that you could use. So yep, Google's really handy for, again, getting a few more ideas as to keywords that might be relevant to your website. So just in case you haven't got enough keywords, we can create some more. So more the merrier. And the way that, because all those other ways are great ways of generating various ideas, but it doesn't encapsulate everything. So I have a kind of a way of mopping up any other potential keywords that I've missed. And we use this fantastic tool called Merge Words, and I'll show exactly how we do that. So let's say we're going to AI. We're thinking about AI events. So AI, artificial intelligence. If we get, I have a nice list of all different events and related secondary keywords. So what this is going to do is basically merge, like its name, it's going to merge the words. So we'll have AI conference series, AI congress, AI convention. And then what that will enable us to do is to put this back into Keyword Keg and see what the search volumes are for all of those different keywords. I'm also going to put in some locations here, as we realized from that previous search with Google Suggest that locations are quite important. So let's put London, New York. Okay, so let's merge all of those. And then if we do Control A, copy those, Control C, and let's paste this into a Keyword Keg. We put that into import keywords. I'm going to say we're in the US. We'll have a question. I'll let while that's doing its thing. The question is, would you advise adding the chosen keywords to the back end of the website on ASP for SEO, or is it important to drop them within the front end copy? Fantastic question. We do have a full webinar on that in a couple of weeks' time, but in short, there are the places where you put keywords. There's a few places. So you have what's called the page title or the meta title. So that is in the SEO tab at the back end on the ASP show off, and a keyword would go in there. So let's say, for example, if you are an AI conference in London, you'd make sure in that page title you would say AI conference London and maybe the date. So that's where you'd put that keyword. You then come on to what's called the meta description, which is below that. Just to remind you, so in Google itself, that is what pulls through as the page title, and this is what pulls through as the meta description. That's important. That keyword is important and will help that page rank. If you put the keyword in this bit in the meta description, it doesn't actually help the ranking, but it does help people click through to that listing because it will come out as bold. If you noticed here, because the search was AI events, and you can see that AI and events here is bold, so that helps people click through. So it is worth also putting the keyword into that meta description so it comes up as bold down there. Then when you come on to the actual page itself, you want the keywords in the main title, so or very prominently. So if you are an AI conference in London, have that ideally in the main title of the page, best AI conference in London, or most up to date, or most whatever it might be. But AI conference London is worth having in the title. Then you do want it in the copy as well, but it gets a bit more subtle once we get to there. And as I say, we do have a webinar in a couple of weeks' time as to how to exactly do that. So I think at this stage, I'll leave it there. That's probably where we want to have our keywords. And then if you come along next time, I can then chat through how we can then intelligently put those into the copy on the page. What I would say is that the old way of SEO was to put this keyword into a page quite a few times. So you just have not well written pages that would have AI Conference London in them 10 times. Fundamentally, that doesn't read well. It's not great. That's now known as keyword stuffing, and actually will hinder a page rather than help it. Hence the reason why we're going to dedicate a whole session on how to actually target keywords on the page, because it's a lot more subtle than just putting the keyword into the page. So it's in answer to your question, it's a mixture of the two, behind the scenes, as well as actually on the copy on the page too. I hope that answers the question. Let's go back to our merged. So if you remember, we created a big long list of keywords now just to make sure there was nothing that we'd forgotten. I then imported them into Keyword Keg. So we've got quite a few here. And as you can see, we now have lots of keyword ideas. And the goal here really is just to now start thinking about what is most relevant to different parts of your website. So artificial intelligence company, for me, wouldn't be a great one for your homepage at all, because that intimates that that's someone who are looking for companies that relate to AI. So maybe if you have a exhibitor section of the website, maybe you could call that artificial intelligence companies, have that as a target keyword, because if someone searches that, finds your exhibitor page in search and then sees a big long list of AI companies, that's actually relevant to them, but it certainly isn't relevant to your homepage. Whereas, maybe you have some networking sessions that are going on. So therefore you could have that as the keyword for your networking page. Maybe you have a conference and not just a conference, you have a specific conference page. And so therefore we can start to see what keywords are relevant to specific pages on the website. AI products. On the ASP platform, there's the ability for exhibitors to upload their products. So maybe if they were all collated somewhere, we've got to potentially have a page there that targets AI products. Maybe you consider yourself more of a summit than a conference. So this is where you need to start looking through the keywords and then starting to organize what could be targeted on what page. Speakers, fantastic example there. That would go very much onto the speakers page, which lists all your different speakers. One of the reasons why I choose AI just on this this webinar really is just because it gives you lots of examples of keywords that you can use and where you can use them. In many ways, that makes my job a lot. It makes the job of optimizing, at least at this stage, easier because you've got lots of ideas. What you may find on some of your events, especially if they're quite niche, that they won't have anywhere near as many keywords as this. So if that's the case, that's the case. So sometimes you may find that there's only a few, and therefore there's only a few pages you can optimize. And if that's the case, that's fine, because it probably also means that you have less competition. Because you have to bear in mind here that AI, whilst there might be lots of keywords and it makes it nice and easy for me to lay out a website, it also means there's lots of competitors we have to go up against and then do a lot of work to make the website work well. Okay, so we've now created our big long list on merge words, free tool, which is fantastic. And as I started to talk about in just a minute ago, it's now starting to think about prioritizing, because as you can imagine, when you're at this stage and you have all of these different keywords, one of the big things I do find is people do start to get overwhelmed. They think there's loads of keywords here. What do I put where? And I've been doing this a while, so therefore, I know where to put the keywords. But I certainly remember when I first started doing this that it was quite overwhelming. So I think the key thing is to go back to what's your event about. So let's say in this example, you're an AI event. So forget about all the other ones. Let's just find the event type keywords. So for example, here we go. We've just got a few here. So, and I suspect this will be good for the homepage. So AI event, artificial intelligence event. Fantastic. We've got 2 keywords there in which we can now optimize the homepage for. And if we were in London, obviously you want to tag London on the end. As you can see, there's a lot less search, but bear in mind that these were from the US. So if we were actually in the UK, those searches may be more, which also actually highlights the importance of making sure that your geolocation is correct, because the number of searches for certain things does vary depending on the location you're in. So if you are an AI event in New York, obviously you don't want to be targeting AI in London, but that's unless you have a sister event in London. Obviously the volume is going to be less. So I've said here, main thing really is to start to think, when you have all these thousands of keywords that you've now found, is start to really now think about the intent of people, because that's what's going to make a profitable keyword and one in which drives relevant people to your site versus one that's versus just general keywords where people are going to come onto your site and then bounce off straight away. So think about intent, and from my experience when it comes to events, this is when it really comes down to our nice long lists here, where we have a lot of standard words that we use, like conference and congress and event and exhibition and expo and fair, and different words that are used in different types of events, and some are more relevant to ones versus others. But this is a great place where I start, because it gives, if someone's looking for an AI seminar, if they come up to your conference page, obviously that's highly relevant and people are highly likely to come along, compared with the people just type in AI. It might be just my daughter doing some research on what AI is and have with no intention of ever going to an event. So hence the reason why having these modifiers at the end can be really excellent. Even things like expert and speakers, they're relevant because they'll be appearing at your event. People are interested in seeing them online, they may be interested in seeing them in person. So yes, Focus on intent, those real event type keywords, and I'd highly recommend at this stage just really focusing on that. Think of all the keywords that really are highly event focused. Earlier on, I don't know if you remember, we used ChatGPT to find subtopics as well. So obviously in this case, I'm talking about an AI event, but then we can then think of those key subtopics to that event as well. We, as I say, we will go into this in a couple of weeks on how to best do it, but subtopics we arrange into actual pages. So the main event may be AI, but the subtopics, let's go back to what we had here. Maybe we have a page about ethics. Maybe we have a page about natural language processing, robotics, for example. Maybe in our show we consider these are key themes in which there may be exhibitors attending. There may be sessions and talks about those certain topics, and these are great for people because they can come onto the website and because people are often rarely interested in just the broad topic. Like AI, for example, maybe they're more interested in a certain part of it, especially business visitors, because AI is such an enormous topic. So by creating these topic pages, it's not just for the search engines, it's very much for people as well. So think about at the same time, what are the key topics that are relevant to your show? And then you can start picking out keywords that relate to that. But as I say, at this stage, just think of all of those kind of event, show, seminar, conference type keywords that are relevant to your show. There's always opportunities to then find later keywords later on, but as I say, to stop getting overwhelmed, I'd suggest just doing that at this stage. In terms of finding keyword volumes, I've just been through that actually with the tools. So you get your short list of keywords and you put those in here, and there you get your different search volumes, and it's incredibly insightful. So if you know that a certain number of people are searching for a particular topic, it could say, as I mentioned earlier, it's actually informed what events that we've worked on, what they may call certain streams of their conference, for example, because they know that it's a particularly popular topic compared with another one. So yes, knowing the search volumes is very, very insightful. Just as a side note, actually knowing what people are spending on ads is also insightful, because this gives an idea as to the commercial viability of that keyword. So if people are actually bidding and paying money for ads for a particular word, it shows that, as I say, it has viability to it. So if you see that, say, our AI event appears to be slightly more commercially viable than AI events. And that's probably because AI events may be a page that lists a number of different events, and maybe people are less inclined to bid for that versus just the specific event. Doesn't seem to be much competition in London, so that would be good. But this is, bear in mind, this is people running ads in the US. So yes, at this stage, we now want to find our different keyword volumes. And so very, very insightful as to then which of those keywords we then use to target on particular pages. So I mentioned before, the geographic regions can be very, very important. So for example, I was doing keyword research for a business that operates in Africa, and some quite different, very much all English at this stage, some quite different topics and phrases were popular in Africa versus in UK and in the US. So just assume because a phrase might be popular, AI event, for example, in the US, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right keyword to use within the African region. So we use a tool called keywordtool.io, and this will help to get keyword volumes for different countries. It's This isn't my go-to keyword tool of choice on a day-to-day because it's a bit more expensive. It's not quite as easy to use, and also there is a limit of 10 lists of keywords for 24 hours, so it's slightly restrictive. But if you have an event that operates in different regions of the world, this actually has a lot. So for example, Egypt. So it's many countries, and you can do search volumes per country. So we just say, or if you want to do like what we did for the whole region of Africa, we just chose the African countries with the highest population and put all of those in, and then that became our keyword volumes because we were targeting that region. So let's give an example here. South Africa. Do AI event. So this will be very specifically for this region compared with the US. So highly recommend you do this if you have a regional events rather than just the more generic areas that we have here. Okay, so by going through all of those different steps before, we've generated lots of keywords. I've started to bring into the concept of how certain keywords might be more relevant to certain pages. So speakers, companies that could go onto an exhibitor page. And this is really where you now need to kind of extend that a little bit further and start grouping these keywords, which can then go on to specific pages. So I simply use a spreadsheet for this, so I'll just export all of the keywords from whichever tool I've used, and then start to group them into what page I believe they could go on. So you may have, on some page, there may be 10 potential keywords you could use. On other pages, there may only be 5. But remember the whole concept of intent. So, a conference, an expo, an Ummit, I seem to miss the S, is the intent the same? If the intent's the same, there's no harm in targeting numerous keywords per page. So start to group them all together. And these will form the keywords that you're potentially targeting on a page. Once they're all grouped, it then enables you to then choose which one do we go for. And then in terms of which one do we go for, I'll often pick the one that, I mean, sometimes conference may be even in your event name. So obviously that will be the one to go for. But sometimes it'll also be the highest search volume. So there many things may affect which is your kind of primary keyword, but the first step is to start grouping them all together so you can have a list to choose from, and also those other keywords. When we come on to the optimization in a couple of weeks' time, they'll play a good part there as to then putting those other keywords in the page too. So you don't necessarily only have to rank for one word, like AI conference. Maybe we could go for expo and summit and plenty of others too. So yes, spreadsheets and tabs and keeping your keywords organized. We want to keep them all in one place. So get the spreadsheet dusted off and start putting them in there. I've alluded to this a few times that obviously the logical next step to this is then optimizing web pages, and I gave a very quick intro to that, saying where we could put those keywords. So there'll be some in the meta title, in the heading, but as I mentioned before, there's actually quite a bit that goes into this and making sure that we do it properly. It doesn't necessarily have to take a long time, but it does require quite a bit of thought. So therefore, we have a whole webinar dedicated to this, and I'll be running through a step-by-step process on how to optimize a web page. So it's on the 18th of June. And this is relevant to whether it's your homepage, a topic page, whether it's a blog post, a news article, it doesn't matter. The principles are always the same. So I can run through that in detail. So yep, sign up 18th of June. We'll be running through that. So we've pretty much covered most of the main content that I wanted to. So I don't know if anyone has any questions before we sign off, but just to briefly summarize, search demand, I think it's really worth thinking about how important this is now. So from my experience within the events industry, that typically there's quite a bit of reliance on email and PPC, for example, and with what's happening with data and being less data available for paid ads, the search is becoming more important, and unfortunately is something that isn't going to go away. So actually, I'll just have a question. 2 secs. How often shall I be reviewing my keywords? I think step one is just to go through the whole process first, because in actual fact, uncovering all of the keywords that relate to your main site, the sub pages, and then eventually down to blog posts can take a while. So but maybe it really relates to overriding trends. So for example, in industries that are fast moving like AI, maybe if you just sort of double check them, probably in AI I would probably check maybe every 6 months. But even so, I'd need to spend that 6 months drilling down and putting keywords on the relevant pages. So I think the main topics I'll be checking every 6 months in a fast moving industry like AI, but in a lot of other industries which don't move that quickly, if you don't check the keywords for a year or so, the thing is, there's so many sub keywords which you could be targeting, and if you write the content correctly on the page, Google picks up what the site's about, and you'll start ranking for keywords that you haven't actually optimized for anyway. So in actual fact, I'd almost spend more time, and so long as you're sure about the primary keywords you're going after, I'll then spend more time, if I'm honest, building the content out on the site, because then Google just starts to understand, as I mentioned here about data, they start to understand the type of people that want to go to your site. And even if they haven't even typed in that specific word, they'll make your site rank, and you'll start ranking and showing for keywords that you haven't even optimized for. But great question. Yep, I'd say maybe once a year. If there is a blog in the back end, does that get picked up for SEO? So long as the blog is open to the search engines. So if we go to, if someone has to log in to see the blog, then no. But on the other hand, if it's just open, if it's just a page on your website, like one of ours here, then 100%. It can absolutely be optimized for keywords, and it should be. And blog posts can be an excellent source of traffic, but as mentioned earlier, please do that later, because they're less specific. It's kind of further up the sort of funnel really with blog posts. So I'll definitely go for all of your events keywords first. Oh, we have another question coming through. Were you suggesting only using 1 or 2 keywords per page or multiple? So Google can rank you for potentially almost numerous keywords per page, but I think for keeping your own sanity, I think 1 or 2 keywords per page in terms of what your targets are is where to start. At a later date, you might decide you want to add some more, but I think at this stage, just 1 or 2 keywords per page is kind of the target for that page. And like I said, Google will actually rank you for other keywords anyway, that it will decide whether it feels you're relevant for or not, but start with 1 or 2. Can you use too many keywords? If so, can you use too many keywords? If you have too many, will they not be as effective? So we almost need to go back to just making sure that your page is a good page, it adds value to the visitor, and is well written, and just so happens to be aligned to a certain keyword which makes sense. So if you have a page about an AI event, you need to make sure that on that page you have everything the visitor needs to know about an AI event, or at least the primary sections, and then they can link off to other pages which are going to get more specific. So I'd focus on just making a page that is highly relevant for someone who's typing in that search. And another way you can do that, and as I say, I'll address this on our next webinar, is type in, if your target word is AI events, put that into Google, look at your competitors, see what they're doing on their pages, and just try and make a page which is relevant to them. And the way this answers that question over, can you target too many keywords? In many ways, it's Google that decides how many keywords it's going to rank you for, and that'll be based on merit. So you can, if you try to, so let's say your AI events page, let's say you tried to target 100 keywords on there, and then by going through that process, you became very unfocused as to what that page was about. It didn't read well. It didn't have it. It had mixed messages all over the page. Then in essence, you're trying to target too many, the page isn't going to be effective and you will not rank for it. But on the other hand, if you create a really good page about AI events, it has lots of great information on there, all the sorts of information that people would want to read, it's potentially possible that Google will rank you for even hundreds of keywords on a page. Sometimes when you get long form pages, you can actually rank for hundreds of keywords, but going all the way back, I'd suggest at this stage just trying for one or two. If exhibitors add blogs and news, does this add our keywords onto Google? And do we need to go in and add keywords to those pieces of news pieces, or does ASP do that automatically? So exhibitor blogs, they are available to be seen within search. Step one is that it has to be a well-written, unique piece of content. If they have just copied and pasted it from their own website, the page on the ASP site will never rank. It will only be the page on their own website, or it should be, because it'll be seen as duplicate. So we want an original page to rank. So step one, it has to be unique. And step two, in terms of keywords, again, it's actually exactly the same process. If they have been through the process of identifying the keyword they're going after, let's say they're writing blog post, what is AI? So they put that into the main heading of the page, and then the page is all about that. Then, and if it's well written, and if it's better than some of the competitors' pages for the articles for what is AI, then it will do well. In terms of what ASP will not do that, we as part of the standard sort of ASP platform, that's all content that will be added in by either yourselves or by your exhibitors. If you want me to help out with optimization, we can certainly provide guidance as to, maybe what keywords are targeted on the page, or we even, in some cases, we do actually help them do stuff for clients. But as a standard, if you have an ASP website, that content will be uploaded either by the exhibitor or amended by yourself. So we wouldn't do that. But keywords, in essence, I think people often think that keywords are something you put in different, is keywords are, it's a focus. It's if you select what is AI as my keyword, all it's really saying is I need to put that in my meta title, possibly in my page title, and then as I'll run through in the next webinar, will inform then how we actually write that article. They're not things that you just kind of sneak in the background somewhere. So we have some up and coming events. If this has whetted your appetite to learn more about SEO, we're running a masterclass starting on the 5th of June. So we have one in-person session followed by 3 virtual sessions where I'm basically going to run through with people exactly the steps that I take when I'm optimizing an events website. It's one of a kind. I'm not aware of any other masterclasses like this, and it's 100% focused on events and the unique challenges and specifics to an event. So it's not a general how to do SEO session. It's very specifically and practical stuff, what you can do on your events website to make it work organically. So if you're interested in that, we have a special offer we'll come up with in a second. And also we have another couple of webinars coming up after then, as mentioned on the 18th of June, how to actually optimize your web page, which will hopefully be really useful for people, because I appreciate that's probably the real, apart from this session today, the optimizing the web page one is one in which a lot of event marketers would be actively doing. So please come along to that if you can. This is details of our masterclass. If that's of any interest, please go onto our website. It'll be me taking it. It's very hands-on. It's going to be a relatively small session, so there'll be lots of questions and answers, and it's all going to be based off real life and experience. Very little theory in here, an awful lot of practice. So if you'd like to that, please, details are there. And last thing, we're also offering for attendees to the webinar here that I'll produce for you a report of keywords in which you haven't yet taken advantage of, and also some insights into your top competitors. So it's quite a nice little kickstart actually as to what some of the opportunities may be for your websites. So, and it does vary. SEO isn't necessarily relevant to all sites. So I can find out from the research how quickly the keywords that there are available for your site. And we're coming up to about time. Let's see if there's any final questions. No more questions. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time, everyone. We really do appreciate you coming along and spending your valuable time with us. So I hope that was useful. If you think of any other questions afterwards, please do drop them over. Very interested to help you out on this. As you can probably tell, I love talking about SEO. So yeah, thanks very much, everyone. As Katie just put in the chat, a recording will be sent around and a summary of the session. So if you didn't pick up everything here, you can have a look at it then afterwards. So thanks very much, everyone. Have a great rest of the afternoon, and speak to you soon.